Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I wanted to come on and powwow a bit in these energies because I know it's been really intense for a lot of us. A lot of triggers. I think a lot of us are getting really triggered in really deep ways, like almost it just almost feels like a breaking point, like where we're getting down to the traumas that have been creating patterns that we've been playing out for a really long time, and being catalyzed or supported, or that divine cosmic setup to make us feel it again. So I had two of those yesterday. I had one in the morning and one at night. And the first one, it was around my daughter and my past and losing custody and feeling guilty for everything, and just, it was blocking me from being able to hold space for her and being able to just really honor her process, how it is, because it would, whenever she was really, really suffering and getting really intense about it, it would trigger me. It would trigger the helplessness feelings because I wasn't able to, when I lost custody, I wasn't able to help them or support them. I just had to sort of pray for them and hold space from afar while they suffered. And so now that she's with me, and I feel like I want to help her, but of course we all need to go through our trials, and we all need to go through our compressions, even when it's really, really messy, and even when somebody's really spiraling and really resisting and really in victim or really in pain or really on and on and on. And just allowing that process wherever it is. And so that's been really hard for me because of that trigger. And so I cleared it yesterday. I allowed myself to walk away and to take some space, because it's like my nervous system can only hang in that energy and that density for so long. It's like I have to take care of myself too, but I felt like I couldn't because I had to be there for her, and it just... So anyway, it all came up, and I was just like this huge, like weeping, sobbing, feeling it all the guilt and all the shame and all the, oh, it's all my fault and blah, blah, blah. And then once I cleared that, that higher knowing that there are soul contracts involved, and there's, there are life paths that we all choose, and trials that we choose to go through, choosing our parents, choosing the constellation and the configuration, the compressions that we go through for what we're here to do in service and what we need to heal and all these things. And so that clarity came back to me, and today I've been able to hold space for her without any triggers or any compression, because I cleared that deep wound, but I had to get to it. And it took me a really long time to see it. That's something that's been coming up. I do feel like there's a lot of energy right now, a lot of correction going on with what I'm seeing, at least, is the mother-daughter relationships, and some of those wounds and those like blind spots that we can have because of trauma. And I feel like there are a lot of triggers happening right now to help us to sit with that trauma, to feel it and release it. And so then in the evening, it's really interesting, because my whole thing with her was I wasn't able to hold space for her process because I felt like I had to save her and fix it, because it was triggering my wound of not being able to be there for them and blaming myself and not being able to honor the darkness and the trials that I went through, even though I do. It's integrated in certain areas of my life. It's integrated with me. I don't feel like a victim. I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't blame any of my perpetrators. I've made peace with that. I've done that inner work. I've felt all those things and seen the reflection in me. But when it comes to my kids, I would go unconscious again. So I had to go in and do that. But then on the other side, I had a trigger around not having my process honored and feeling pressured, and that, like, where you want to gaslight yourself and be like, oh wait, this doesn't resonate for me, this thing that's coming at me, but maybe I'm just stuck in ego, or maybe I'm just where you gaslight your own process and your own the layer of the onion that's coming off, like you're not honoring where you're at because somebody else is bringing something to you. And that's what happened in my marriage all the time. It was like he knew all the things, he knew me better than myself. And, I just didn't know, and I, because I really wanted to grow, and because I really wanted to evolve and learn, and I knew I was, pretty sheltered in all this, I would gaslight my internal body feeling of like, no, this isn't the right timing for me, or no, this isn't even relevant for me, or no, this is a projection, or whatever it is. I just lost myself and gave my power away to him. So I had a situation that triggered that for me. Oh, it triggered that for me. And it was the first time I had felt that in, 15, 16, how many years since I left that situation. And so it was a really old thing that I hadn't revisited. And it was wonderful because I was able to speak up and just say, I need to step away. And, I'm feeling disempowered, and I feel that this is, just not right for me right now. And I need to honor my process. And I'm not going to gaslight myself into thinking I'm fearing an ego death or whatever it is. And then so I spoke up and I set that boundary, which was very, very, very healing for me, because I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that in my past relationship because I just gave myself away. So it was like a soul retrieval. And then I felt it. I felt all the cognitive dissonance, and I felt all the anger and all the disempowerment and all the, like boundary crossing. And I just primal screamed and like just claimed my right to my process, to my body. Okay. The other thing that's going on is there's a lot that's getting kicked up in this. I feel it's connected to this, is to the Atlantean. For me, I had a dream 2 nights ago, and it came through as like the genetic splicing. That's how I can describe it. The genetic splicing or the genetic experimentation. So it's like things being imposed upon you, things being put on you. And so that can be with the AI as well. I had an experience with that where I had to speak up about a situation with that as well, that I don't feel like going into the details on that. But yeah, it's like a thing where your codex, your original frequency is being tampered with. It's being tampered with because something's coming in that's not in your resonance or in the right order for your evolution. It's like a hijack in a way. So the inception point of this sort of trauma that's coming up for a lot of us, because I had somebody talking about that today, where this person sort of acted like they knew something about them, and it was like, oh, well, I, like saw this and I helped you with this. And she was like, I never even asked for your help. And I didn't feel that way. That's your story, and so she was setting boundaries in that way. So I'm seeing a lot of this, right? But there's also been that dream, and then other synchronicities with other people that I work with around this Atlantean energy, and clearing. So it's a timeline correction. So when we're being triggered in our lives about anything, that it could seem completely it's again how we're being guided into situations that might not make sense to our minds, but it's because did I mention that? I had to restart this reading. I had to restart it because I messed something up. And so I can't remember if I said that in this reading or not, but how there's, I don't think I did. We're being guided into things, like I was talking about this the last time, where I was being guided into certain positions, but I was in resistance because my mind didn't understand and my human didn't want it. But what I'm finding is these situations that we're being guided to is for the purpose of these divine catalysts and triggers to help us feel something that connects in an energetic level with these Atlantean timelines. So it's what we're experiencing now in the world. It's like another fall of Atlantis, and we have to make different choices. So there's a lot that's, and in order, it's like me with my daughter, in order to make a different choice and be conscious in the moment, we have to heal the things, feel the things. We feel it to heal it. We have to feel the things, and therefore heal the things that are lodged in, that are a trauma from that time, that are blocking us from seeing correctly now, where we might be interacting in ways, or allowing things, or letting people override us, or whether it comes to technology or medical intervention or perception, way of thinking, mind control, instead of listening to ourselves, listening to the narrative, getting sucked into, an agenda, all these things. And so that's what I'm finding, that at the inception point of a lot of things we're being triggered in and that's the whole thing with not honoring process. With Atlantis, we were overridden. Our organic nature, the organic harmonics of this realm were overridden with technology, with control, with selfishness. And of course, we were on a descending age. So it was like, hey, the evolutionary trend was to come out of unity and to come into individuation. And a lot of us, I think myself included, I don't know, I figure, in some timeline was like, hey, this is fun, now it's all about me, and like, what can I do here? A lot, because that was what the energy was doing. Well, now the energy is on the rise. So we're coming out of that, and the evolutionary cutting edge of evolution is to come back into this unity, right? But at that time, it was the opposite. So it's just how it was, it's just how it was. But so a lot of us have a lot of guilt from those times, and a lot of us have a lot of trauma from that time. So again, the organic, the united, the harmonious was falling into distortion. And in that, there was a lot of overriding of our organic nature, overriding of what's true and real. And so that's where that sort of like me with my daughter overriding her process to try to save her or to try to avoid feeling that trigger that I couldn't feel because it was so painful, and the same thing, for me in feeling overridden. But my pattern before was to allow myself to be overridden because I didn't trust myself, and so if you watched that video that I did with Nando, that one that I shared, I was talking about that, my origins with not trusting my intuition because I feared it was the devil because I was in Catholic school, and then with my ex, and then all these things, and just being a merger and not having clear boundaries and not being able to decipher between what was true and what wasn't, because I just I didn't have that boundary. I was too trusting. It's like I came in from a frequency where everything was merged. I came in a sense, remembrance of that unity. And it's taken me a very, very, very long time to see what's actually here, and to know that I need to protect and to have boundaries and this type of thing. So that's where that situation was really wonderful for me. Both of those situations, the one I mentioned with the AI, that I know I didn't give a lot of details with, but it was something that I needed to speak up against because my codes were being compromised. And so anyway, I'm kind of tempted to tell that story, but I'm just going to move on. I think the gist kind of comes through. And so the speaking up and the setting boundaries and the soul retrieval in that. So when we have a situation like this where we feel a little pressed upon, or we feel like and that can go also just from within ourselves where we're being guided to do something. And instead of it being an outer person that's providing an opportunity for us to set a boundary and to say, no, I'm going to listen to myself instead. It can literally be ourselves, right? Our inner masculine energy where we have an intuition and we want to do something. And then our masculine's like, no, that's wrong. Because, and then you go through your little list and she's like, yeah, but I really feel it. And there's, this is spirit guidance, and there's a trajectory that this path is going to bring for you. And for others, it's going to bring enormous healing. And I know you can't see it because we're trying to save you from the spiral you're going in, but you need to listen to me. But then he says, no, no, I'm not going to. Okay. So there's that override. We can do that within ourselves too. So on whatever level this is happening, there's a real on the, and it probably goes back farther than that as well, but definitely this Atlantean correction. So every time we rectify that, where we say, oh, shoot, I'm doing that thing where I'm overriding my organic, harmonious divinity that's connected to all that is for this false Atlantean system that's still playing out, and we return to her, we correct that timeline. We correct that timeline within our own life stream, and we correct it. Each person that does that creates a frequency of correction within themselves that's broadcasted. So we're correcting it out. This is how we solve the war. This is how we, like, if you're looking out at the world and you're like, oh my gosh, are we on the brink of destruction? Are we all gonna die? Whatever it is, right? And the fear, and like, well, what about this? And what about this? Again, the linear mind that wants to come up with a solution. And meanwhile, the soul is like, go over here. So this person can trigger you, or maybe you'll go over here and then that will trigger this person, and then that person will trigger, it's like this network, this web of divine, again, the symphony, the divine perfection that's getting as many people roped in as it can to trigger these wounds, so that, like, all at the same time we can confront and heal. And the healing is the feeling, and then the trick is to not blame anyone else, to not look out and be like, ew, like they did that to me, or I don't like that, even if you're like, I don't like that and I don't want to let that into my field. Then to like, but immediately, like, it doesn't matter about that person. That's not my business. My business is this, and to go in and to feel it and to scream if you have to, and to cry and to, just rock back and forth or whatever, weep, let it get really, really primal in the whole way down and the whole way through, because you're going through the timelines and you're getting to the bottom of it, right? So the temptation is kind of like childbirth. When you make a lot of noise, it makes it kind of easier, but can also prolong the labor, because that you're dispersing some of the energy, and you need that compression, and you need that pain to really have the labor move along. And so it's that balance of like letting a little bit of that steam off, like step away from that trigger if you need to, but don't then blame or energetically shut out or cast away or reject that person, because that person is your divine catalyst. Like allow yourself then to go in and to feel, because you're gonna birth your healed self. And the temptation is to reject and to be angry at the helper. At the helper, and the helper might come in the form of a friend that you're having a conflict with, or it could come in the form of or somebody that you don't know that is just really triggering you. But again, having that perspective that everything is about healing, and on deepest level, it's about healing the energy, the energetic signatures and patterns and distortions that are still playing out in our world. And again, as we heal them within ourselves, we're the antidote to the warring going on without. And so to remember that and to know that, so that when we really want to diffuse that energy because it hurts and it's so uncomfortable, and we want to run from it, and which is fine, remove yourself, but and we might even want to blame, and that's fine too, because you're discerning the old energy and how you feel, and all of it's fine. But at some point, just sit with it and feel, because that's how you're going to alchemize it, and that's how you're going to transmute it, and then be able to transmit that healed wound through, and that's it's the antidote, because what we do inside of ourselves transmits and goes out into the collective, and it's what changes the outer world. So that feels really important. I can't believe I got that out. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get that out. That's why I had to start the video over, because I was like, no, it's not coming out right. I needed a practice run. And so being really, really important, and having that bigger picture of like, this is the antidote to what's going on, the conflict in our world. We have to heal these timelines within ourselves. And in order to do that, we need those triggers. And so then in order to heal it, we need to feel it. And so pulling it back and feeling, let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it. So I'm going to jump into the cards and see if there's anything, what else might want to come through in terms of maybe encouragement or, dear Spirit, bring a gentle touch. And that is something else that I wanted to say, is just to have a lot of compassion, for all of us, because we're all doing the best that we can. And we're at this point in human evolution where we're really getting down to some of our deepest triggers. Again, the ones that go back to like the exact fractal of what's going on right now. And it's the exact fractal that we need to be healing right now. And it's really hard. It's been really, really hard, because again, a lot of us are a part of the destruction. We were a part of it. We were the geneticists, or we were the, egomaniacs or whatever, and it's hard to look at that. And it doesn't even mean that we have to look at that and go back and, do a past life regression, or, try to figure out or find that in ourselves. We can clear it within this lifetime, within whatever's going on right now. But usually the wounds that are really, really painful, that really, 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 really trigger us, are the ones that are connected that far back. And so just having a lot of compassion for ourselves. And that's where that process thing comes up too, to go slow with yourself and to go slow with others, because it's like what we're unraveling is really big, and giving people a lot of room, a lot of room for the process, and a lot of the forgiveness piece has been coming up for me. And I know that it has. We've kind of powwowed on Facebook. A lot of us have mentioned that as well, that they've been having this forgiveness piece. I've had so many synchronicities with forgiveness, and forgiveness has been a real badge in my lifetime, because of the work that I did with my kid's dad, my ex-husband, and we were warring for 20 years. And then we made peace, and it was a peace that birthed from within, and it was a peace that was divinely guided and divinely timed, and it healed our entire family. It healed the timeline, and it was just this beautiful thing, and it changed me forever, because it showed me if I could have compassion and forgiveness for my main perpetrator, then I can have compassion and forgiveness for everyone. And that's how it's been for me, just this sort of, and the other thing that's happening right now is a lot of people are, again, we're resolving our distortions, and we're healing our distortions, and we're trying to get on the right path. A lot of people are trying to get on the right path, and they might not be perfect. Of course, none of us are perfect. We still have our areas that we're not able to see, and we're still running these programs, but our intention and our desire is to align and to whole, and to just, it's so healing for ourselves to refrain from judging other people. And so there was a post that I posted, like, the more my heart opens, the less offended I get by other people working out their particular phase of evolution or of healing, or I think it was evolution, where it's like we're just really bringing it all in and working on ourselves. And even if somebody's doing really, really awful things, it's like they're playing their part in as a catalyst, or they're playing their part in balancing something else that they're going through. They're playing their part. It's like, again, that Mother Mary welcoming everything back in, because at the end of that interview with Nando, he asked me, well, okay, I always ask these 3 questions. What is God? And I said, everything, and he said, and why forgiveness? And I said, because to not forgive is to assume that anything can ever be wrong, which is separation. And in reality, everything is God. Everything is God. And therefore we can bring it all back home. And that doesn't mean that we, again, honoring the process of the gentle touch, it doesn't mean that we don't have our process around that. But that reminder right now, when we're really, really in this crunch time, and that inner work is so, so important, just being gentle with ourselves and being gentle with everyone else, and just kind of having that sort of overview while we're down in there, triggered and screaming and feeling and, trying to navigate, just knowing that the aim is this healing. This is a very healing energy. Like we're coming back into this gentle, look at how it matches me. I love it when that happens. This gentleness within ourselves, this gentleness with others. The other thing that can go really deep, and Alora Hazel really illuminates this so beautifully, is a lot of the overlords that were responsible for the fall in the first place. They were the ones that really, really, were part of the descending age that were coming out of leaving, and then the mid-level kind of minions of that energy either leaving or deciding to align. And so those ones that were really dark, that are deciding to align, there's a real, for me at least, and sharing this for anyone else who's resonating, a real strong guidance to forgive, to have this forgiveness, not only of our own perpetrators, or the people that are triggering us or whatever, but for everything, forgiving everything, because there is this phase of harmonization that's going on, and a lot of people turning and trying to turn, right? So just this beautiful message of gentleness, compassion, space giving, but that also includes for ourselves when we need to walk away, or when the triggers are too strong and we just can't handle it, remove ourselves, and then when we're ready, go and sit with it. Like, don't miss the alchemy, don't miss the alchemy for the blame game, or for the looking outside, or trying to find it outside of you. Find it inside of you, but being patient with yourself, patient with your process. And for everyone else as well, I love that it guided me that, because that was something that I was really feeling. Sun card pops out, but it was just flipped over, but still it's there. Just that illumination energy. Like, this is all for the sake of illumination. It's all for you, no matter how gnarly it feels. Oh, that's so beautiful. So this might as well be the Sun card, the 10 of Cups. And there's that Buddha energy in there. He is holding the rose. So the rose lineage, the hell divers, those of us that are going down, the empaths that are going down to feel it all, for all the people that can't or won't, or, aren't assigned to, going in and feeling. Actually, that kind of looks like a tulip, actually, but in my mind, it's a rose. Is it a rose, or is it a lotus? Anyway, I saw it as a rose. So, but yeah, the 10 of Cups being that heaven on earth, just that where you're at peace, and this is where we get when we go in and we feel and we clear those repressed, unseen emotions and triggers and traumas. And that's the thing. It's like you know that you have a something that is unprocessed, unfelt, unseen. If it triggers you, like if you're in a situation and you're not triggered and you're perfectly fine, it's because you don't have any hooks in that. You can move through and you know how to do it and nothing's dragging you up. But as soon as you start to feel that compression and that trigger, then it's like ding, ding, ding. There's something here, right? So, but once we clear that, we can maneuver like this in this energy, in this energy. There's a difference between spiritual bypassing, where you're literally just full of suppression, and actually being at peace. actually being at peace and actually being able to hold steady and to illuminate and to, guide and feel and embrace and surrender and to move, so it's kind of like what we talk about a lot with the solar energies too, when the energies come in and they're dislodging patterns in our bodies. It's like the energy work, the chiropractic work that the sun provides us, the energies through the sun, the galactic energies as well, coming through and dislodging the things that are getting kicked up in all that light. It's like the sun card that came up, that illumination when it's shined, whether it's through the higher energies coming through our atmosphere, or whether it's through our clarity and our illumination, it dislodges things, right? So, but with the sun, when it feels like a heart attack, or it feels like a panic attack, or it feels like pain all over your body, or it feels like exhaustion, when we can just surrender to that and know that it's healing us, that it's not trying to harm us, it's a catalyst and an activation to heal us, then it can move very quickly, and then we can be in this energy even when we're having a trigger, or even when we're feeling something that we don't want to feel, or even when we're having activations in our body. We can have that gratitude and that almost like bliss at the same time, where you're like, oh, because like for a while I had so many dark nights of the soul and I resisted them and I didn't like them and they would last weeks or months, or and then I got really good at it, and it would be like, I got better and better at surrendering to the point where I would be really excited, where I'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible, this is so wonderful, like I'm gonna feel amazing tomorrow, where you almost celebrate them, to the point where when you're really in this energy, or you're really in service, like there have been times where I've been like, oh, like I hear somebody else in an alchemy and I'm like, I haven't done that in a while, like I miss that, because it's like that's where the power is, that's where we get more of ourselves back. And so there can be an excitement and a really beautiful acceptance and gratitude for that type of energy. So that's what I feel this is just illuminating, that when we're gentle with ourselves and others, the worst of things that bring us to our knees can actually feel like this at the same time. It has to bring us to our knees. We have to get triggered. We have to feel it, but there can be our light and our dark together at the same time. We've talked about this a lot in the readings, but it hasn't really come up in a little while. So it's good to talk about again. Okay. All right. Oh, interesting. The King of Pentacles. So this keeps coming up in readings, and this is like the energy of having everything that you need in the physical realm and feeling really secure. For me right now, this is coming through as feeling safe in your body, feeling safe on this earth, feeling safe. And that is also the result of like, because when we're in a trauma and we're in a trigger and we're going into some PTSD from like, Atlantean genetic splicing level, right? You can feel very, very, very unsafe. And that's part of why we avoid those energies, or we avoid those triggers. We don't want to go near it because we don't want to feel it, because it makes us feel very unsafe. And there's that red for the root chakra, and it just kicks up all our, our nervous system and our this and that. And yet, when we do confront those blocks to our safety, when we feel those things, it's how we can finally feel safe in this realm, how we can finally feel safe in our bodies. So a lot of encouragement for the bravery and the courage to feel and to allow, again, honoring ourselves and honoring our level of safety while we navigate those things as well, not pushing ourselves or anyone else past what they're ready for, past that layer of the onion that's ready to come off, honoring other people, honoring where they're at, and trusting them and affirming your trust in them and in yourself, that your soul is guiding you exactly where you need to be in every moment. And again, sometimes that's a trauma and a trigger, and sometimes it's a guidance to go in this direction, to be around this energy, or to be in this, to take this step so that you can have again, like as we're positively moving forward on our soul's journeys, having some things, insecurities, or like fear around that, terror even, where because you're like, I don't know, I don't want to jump off that cliff, I don't know if I can do this, all these things, allowing yourself to know that your soul is guiding you and that everybody else's soul is guiding them too, and really having a lot of respect for the wisdom of everybody else so that we don't disempower or override each other, which is again that Atlantean wound, so that we can all feel safe in this process, because there's a lot that's kicked up around safety right now in the collective energy because of what's going on in the world, but also it's what is it triggering? It's triggering those Atlantean wounds. So maybe your trigger is the war. I know a lot of us that watch these probably are, we're not watching the news because we know that it's all crafted and not accurate, and what's the point anyway? But we're still feeling the collective energies. But some people really are plugged into the narrative and the story and all the perspectives of what it means and all the bad things that can happen. And that could be your trigger as well, where when you sit with that fear, when you sit with that terror of the end of the world or losing your house or not being able to travel or whatever it is. That energy that you're feeling also hooking up with the control and the violation and the sovereignty crossing of the Atlantean energy. Yeah. So using all of the triggers as a way to feel, so that we can clear that, so that we can change the because you recreate things over and over and over, and it's like our higher selves are always trying to get us to heal and to come home and to feel safe, and it all is really love, even though it can feel like violence and attack and all these things. Sorry, my mind just went, because, you can view things on so many different levels, and that's what I did, but I don't feel like going into a whole other level. But then I lost my train of thought. Let me just move on. Maybe it'll come back to me, and I might have actually even kind of completed that thought. So assessing, and there's a 9, and the 9s are kind of that, like, you're nearing completion, but keep going. It's like, just keep going and keep an eye out for the things that are going to free you. Again, the triggers are what frees you. The triggers are what brings you that safety, that brings you, that allows you. Oh, that's what I was saying, where you if you have something that's not healed, it'll keep coming and coming and coming at you and coming at you and coming at you until you feel it. And all we have to do is feel it. All we have to do is look instead of looking at things as trying to harm us, look at everything as love. It's all in love, even if it doesn't feel like love. Our higher selves are trying to get us to heal, so that we can come home, so that we can change the energetic signature within ourselves and within our hologram and within the hologram of the world. So keeping an eye out for anything that's going to help you heal, anything that's going to trigger you. Not that you're going out and seeking, but just having that higher perspective. Assessing. It's like keeping an eye out for it. Knowing that this is going on right now, and knowing that it needs to happen, and knowing that that gratitude and surrendering to it is what's going to clear you and help you feel safe here, so that we don't keep recreating. It's like the fall of Atlantis. I learned recently, if we're on friends on Facebook, that mermaid thing that I posted, the mer Atlantis, she was talking about how there were actually 5 falls of Atlantis. Well, I guess we knew that. I guess we knew that. I just never really thought, I knew there were like 5 earth catastrophes, and the Hopi prophecy of this being the 6th, right? But I never thought of it as 5 falls of Atlantis, but it is in a sense, because it's that same energy, right? It's that same energy. And so when you have an unhealed trauma, then you loop and you recreate it over and over and over. That goes as well for collective energies. We create over and over. So we're on the brink of another destruction. I mean, in a sense, we're on the brink, but it's like there is a singularity, and we've already crossed that threshold, and it's all playing out, but we still have to play our parts as humans. We still have to play our part. We can't just be like, oh, it's all taken care of, I'll just sit here. It's like, no, you got to participate. That's why you're here. This is a movie, and we're acting in it, and we're also watching it, so it's like that singularity is there, but we still have to play that part. And so it's like, and that part is finally feeling and healing these repressed, unseen wounds, so that we don't keep repeating it in our own lives, but more importantly for humanity, because we want to make it through, and we are going to make it through, but we got to do the work. We got to do it as well. So it is eminent, and it's important, and it's it's necessary, and it's like hear the call, and the call is within, and the call is through the feelings, and the call is through walking through that fire and being that alchemist. And not everybody will do that, not everybody will do that. But those of us that came here for this, now is the time, and just supporting, again, being gentle, supporting each other in that, but also being gentle and having compassion for the people that aren't able to do that. They need our help. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing it. We're doing it as empaths. We're feeling when we feel it for in ourselves. We're not taking on other people's stuff either, though. That's the other thing. Like with my daughter, like just like, I would just like let her pain become my pain, and and then I was like, just I couldn't do that because it was weighing me down, and I was kind of shirking my evolution and my journey to like try to take it on for her. And it's like, well, no, that's a disservice to her as well, because she needs that crunch and she needs all of that to come into her power, and so I've really pulled back my energy, and I'm really staying in my own lane. But the taking it on, we're not becoming like, there was a certain point in my journey where I was like, okay, like I'm more than willing to do my work and to clear what's inside of me, but I am not willing to be an endless garbage disposal for all of the collective energy. Like if what I'm doing inside of myself is a fractal of all that is, or a certain group of people that are working on, there's groups of us that are working on certain trauma patterns, like, we're helping the crew here, I'm doing this within me, but I'm not going to just take stuff that doesn't even have anything to do with me, and so I revoked all consent throughout all time and space to do endless collective cleanup, and everything changed for me after that. It got a lot less overwhelming in terms of the collective energy. I just drew, again, that boundary. You draw that boundary, because we can be so merged, when we feel everything. So not taking on other people's work. I know that that's going on a lot with the feminine and masculine energies. A lot of whether you're a man or a woman, if you hold more feminine energy, not wanting to enable distorted masculine behavior and aversion techniques and leaking of energy by trying to save them or trying to help them or mother them or whatever, it's just like, no, I'm cutting off my life force. I'm not leaking it to you. You can get on board or not, but the best way to help somebody is often to pull your energy back and honor their process and honor that they have it, that they can do it, and they're going to do it better when you're not in there meddling, and we've all done it. We've all tried to save people. We've all tried to help them because we love them and we want them to, feel the, and it's like we all have to do it within ourselves. We all have to compress. And so sometimes you gotta let people sink or swim while affirming that they're going to swim because you believe in them and you again, that you trust their journey, you trust their path. And we can really only do that if we trust our own path, and we trust our own inner wisdom, and we trust that we're being guided in every moment. And once we can do that within, we can do that without. So again, it's always an inside job. Really beautiful. I'm going to do a goddess card here. Wow, Kali liberation. That's right. This is Kali territory, where she's like, come here. And you're like, no. And she's like, do I have to come and get you then? She's just, and then you go down, but then you're liberated, and that's this as well. And my understanding of, I'm not like super into all the gods and goddesses and archetypes and stuff like that, but I did get into Kali. She was like the one where I was like, oh yes. And then when I learned about Durga, my feeling and a lot of the archetypes or the gods and goddesses that I connect with are ones that I have identified within myself. Like I journey with a certain energy and I feel it and I know it. And then somebody tells me about, this god or goddess. And I'm like, oh, I know that energy because I've met it inside of myself. So it's like a personal relationship with that archetype rather than, learning about it externally. It's like, I recognize it in me. And those are the ones I have close relationship with. And so my understanding of Durga was like, that she was the one that was kind of like, come here, gentle, like, it's time, it's time to do this. Did you see it? It's coming. You spot it. I knew you spotted it. Like, it's time to do this. And then when we resist, if we go like this, with the acceptance, we're like, oh, this is for me. Like, oh, this is going to be hard, but I'm excited. And this is going to bring me my feeling of safety. Then, it actually goes more gently because we're having a gentle touch to it and an acceptance. But when we're in resistance, it's harder because then Kali comes and chops off your head, and it's a lot harder because you're resisting. And that's the same thing with the body stuff, when you're afraid and then you get your anxiety going, and then your symptoms persist, and then they cause other problems, and then your energy gets all blocked, and then maybe you go to the doctor and they tell you have some disease, and then you get all fixated on that. And and then you manifest the disease even more. Whereas if we can just kind of like, come when we're called and know that it's all for us, then everything can move. So whether it's stuff in our bodies that's leaving, or stuff in our emotions that's leaving. And I used to be really bad at feeling. I don't have any water in my chart. I have Scorpio North Node, but even that is like, so. But everything else is air and fire, and then I have earth to ground me in my rising and my sun sign. And so I really had to learn how to feel my feelings, and I would just resist and resist and resist. And it was when I lost custody of my kids that the feelings were too big. It was a tsunami. I couldn't suppress it. I couldn't, and so I started feeling for the first time, and it was so liberating for me to just feel. And I would notice that like I could be like resisting an emotion for like days, years, and as soon as I would feel it, it'd be like 30 seconds. And that's how it was yesterday, both times. I just felt it. I didn't block it at all. I just didn't care if my neighbors heard me. And, my throat is still sore from my primal scream yesterday. And then I felt great. I just felt completely great, because that's all it takes. And it's like, so much of it is that resistance, and that resistance is what calls this one. But thank God for her, because the job's got to get done. You've got to get done. And again, the world is at stake. It's an inevitability, but still we got to play our part. The world is at stake. And so we need this energy in this realm. That's why it's going to get done, because she's not going to let us get away with it. She's going to come, and that's our higher selves as well. They're not going to give up on us. They're not going to be like, oh, you want to be complacent. I mean, maybe some people, I don't know. I'm only speaking from my own experience and for the people that resonate with me. If you came here for this, if you are on mission to correct these timelines and to come into a natural organic ascension, a natural organic to be a part of the harmonization of this realm, coming back into the truth of reality, then your soul is not going to let you get off. And I said that to my daughter this morning. I was like, the people that you can tell who signed up to go the whole way because their lives are really, really hard. Because, we're so conditioned to just, go along and, do the program and, blah, 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 blah. But if you didn't come here for the program, which none of us did, but if you really came in to be a part of the creation of the new, then you're not going to be allowed to fit in or be successful or go to sleep. You're just not going to be allowed. And you're just going to get hit over and over and over until you, feel. That's how it's coming through, until you feel, and you go into those places you don't want to feel, and you feel them. And again, that's how we clear and how we can feel safe, and how we put out a different transmission. It's the antidote to the cycling, the regurgitation of this because of the unprocessed trauma. So thank God for the triggers. Thank God for Callie. Thank God for the relentlessness of our souls who aren't going to give up on us, but we are them. We are our souls, and we are our higher selves, and we're not giving up. We're going to go the whole way. Those of us that chose to go the whole way, we're going to go the whole way, no matter what it takes. So, and that's what I keep saying to my daughter, like, the worse you feel, the better. That's when you know that you're at a point of alchemy. And I know you feel like you want to die and you don't want to be here. And yeah, we are in hell. This is hell realm. But we came here to my mind, it keeps doing that. It's okay. We came here to go the whole way through, and it's like, even though she can't hear me in that moment, and it's like, yeah, you got to cry, you got to feel it, it's like later then she'll come back and she'll be saying the same things I was saying, because the seeds were planted in the fertile soil of her tower moment. That's it's all tilled. And so, planting those seeds, but then allowing them to come when they're ready, and the finesse of, I'm learning the finesse of holding space for people. I can really hold space for people quite well. I had to learn that because I was disconnected from, my emotions and from so many things, but I feel like I can hold space really well for people, but unless I have a trigger around them, like with my daughter, where I have this wound, and so that's what I was saying to her last night when I was really triggered about not that wound from my ex of not having my process honored. And I looked at her and I was like, but I haven't been honoring your process. And she's like, that's just because you had that wound, Mama. You just had that wound that you needed to get to. And she had so much compassion for me. And it's just really healing, seeing both sides, right? Because that's the thing, when we're healing, there's always a polarity. We've been on both sides of it. And and so that you're close to the root of dismantling that when you, especially in one day. Oh my God. One day I was the perpetrator, the end, in the morning I was the perpetrator, in the end that kind of thing. In the end, I was the recipient of it, but all of it being fractals and going farther back, and all the roles that we've played. All right, so let me go underneath here. I'm gonna see if it's getting kind of long. Yeah. So there's the devil. He hasn't come up in a reading in a while. This is really, really, really fucking up. It's really up right now. You know what I mean? It's up in ourselves. It's up in our dreams. It's up in our triggers. It's like we're interfacing with this type of energy. We're finding it inside of ourselves. We're finding it in each other. And it's like, and again, it's coming out right underneath. Bring a gentle touch. It's okay, because this energy needs to be seen and felt and allowed. And I had somebody write to me today, and she came and visited recently, and it was something about, she had a dream about some like Zuni, like New Mexican, like demon that ate women or something like that, and it was like in her dream, and she was like, I feel like something like unleashed this energy, and it's like, it's all unleashed. It's unleashed inside of us. It's unleashed all around us. And it's like, it's like that whole thing in the Bible, like where, and I forget what it was, because I never actually read the Bible, but you hear these things, where it's like in the end times, the demons will walk freely on the earth. But again, it's like the end times, the end of the false matrix, the upside down world. Why is all this up? Why is it all up inside of us? Why is it up in the astral realm? Why is this kind of like dark, controlling, devilish energy up in the world? Because it's coming out. It's coming out to be seen. So again, that sun card, that it's almost like the totem of our reading here, that flashed itself in the beginning, the illumination, and when we can see and we can embrace, then we can heal. So again, having that perspective that it's all about this liberation. It's all about that liberation. Okay, but let's clarify this devil as well. So there might be more around that. Hold on. I just want one card. Hold on. Let's just take a breath. Slow down. That's so funny. This is the card that's like drinking out of the end of a fire hose. It's like the exact opposite of slow down. So that's the energy that I'm feeling, where it's like, whoa, like there's so much going on. And it's like every single day, like my friend and I that I do the most work with, and we kind of like are really just, we've had all the same initiations and come to not all the same, but generally the different form. But we're really, it's like that meme. She shared this meme with me where this is Sky, and he's like, it says here we're supposed to work in teams. Who wants to be my spotter? So, you're each other's spotter, but anyway, it's like every single day there's like some new thing, some new clearing, some new, trigger, some new, and we're just plowing through it, this kind of energy. So yeah. And it's like, it is that thing where you're like, okay, I got to go ground. And that's like getting into nature to not only ground your own energies, but to also anchor the new energies that you're receiving. Because when you are clearing all this stuff, you're also, you're clearing the way for this kind of energy. This is a real activation energy as well, where you're activating your life force, you're activating your Kundalini, you're bringing in the channel, you're bringing in the information. You can feel through the timelines when you're collapsing. Can you feel it? I'm in this energy right now. When you're collapsing timelines and you're recoding and you're restoring, it's like, it's big, it's multidimensional, it's alchemical, it's activation, it's fiery, it's Shaktipa, it's like you're activating others, it's like, oh, so it's like that structured water where it's like your energy is so, and you're running it so fast that it's like you can go anywhere, and whatever distortions are there are either going to restructure and align, or they're going to get the fuck out of your way, so it's like this kind of energy. And it's like you're walking into these situations, whether it's within yourself or within the world or within your community or within the astral realm, and you're restructuring. Some of us are really running this energy right now. So if that's you, it's like, yes, remember to breathe, remember to, get out on the earth. We're having unusually hot weather right now. It's like 80 degrees and it's, mid-March, which is just crazy. I mean, even though it's warmer in New Mexico, and so Yeah, I didn't really want to walk today. I didn't really want to do that, but I think after this reading I will, because it's just right. It's just so important. And also, there's so much of this energy flying around. It's flying around really quickly, and it's coming through, whether you're, seeing it, you're looking at it, maybe you're looking at it and you're going after it. But even if you're not, it's coming through the collective field. You can't really get away from it. So it's all these, like whenever I talk about nature, I often say truth codes, because it's real and it's true. And it's like, I have house plants all over my house, and stones, all over my house, because I want things that have truth codes around me. I want the reminder. I want the plants. I want the natural. I like the bugs in my house. There's the bee again. Yeah, and going out so that you can, because it harmonizes your energy as well, calms your nervous system. I know most of us know this, but just that reminder, because sometimes, we can feel a little frazzled, or maybe you get a little like depressed, or you get in this thing. And, but especially with this kind of energy, when you have a lot of that activation energy, it can kind of fry your circuits a little bit, and it can be overwhelming for your adrenals and your nervous system. The fear and all that can, but so can the activation. So just nature helping to ground, a reminder on that. So let's see, let's do a shaman card here. I only want one. Okay. I love that. Sky Dancers surrender. And so there it is, that message of surrender. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, and 1, 2, the 3. So there's that kind of forward motion again, where there's like a lot of movement and a lot of the sky dancers. It's like the guidance. That reminds me of the just the higher guidance that kind of flutters in and whispers in your ear. Kind of flows in. There's a bit of a this is an interesting image. It's like a butterfly caterpillar. It's like a caterpillar, but it has its wings, but it's also still a caterpillar. It's also kind of a woman. So, it's really interesting. So yeah, that's really beautiful. And that's like us, we're coming into our higher expression. And that's the other thing that I'm seeing. A lot of the things that we're being guided to that don't make sense are actually taking us into environments and situations that match our frequency better. If like this is our frequency and we've been surrounded by this, we're not going to be able to, it's like this is in the way. So a lot of the places that we're being moved, I did a reading for a woman today, and oh my gosh, she's just so amazing. She's following her intuition, and she's jumping off, and like her linear mind is like, oh my God, what about this? What about this? But the entire reading was this type of energy where she was moving to a new place. And so the energy of that place, even though it looked like it was going to be really hard, it was so matched her higher frequency and the energy of what she's been magnetizing towards her because of all the hard work that she's been doing inside of herself. And it was going to it was like her sanctuary where she was going to be able to open more and more and more, because it was an environment that matched her instead of one that didn't, right? And so she earned that because she did this work. She crawled through the sewer, but it was scary for her to move into the situation because the linear mind was like, well, shit, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I think I'm fucking crazy. But, it was this. So this is that same kind of energy where a lot of the things that we're being called to, or the things that are burning off, the things that we might need to cut off, maybe that aren't in resonance with us anymore. That might be connected to the triggers as well. It could be like you get triggered and then you realize, whoa, I need to have better boundaries, or I need to speak up about this, or I need to, not do this, or I need to, and it can catalyze and change you, where like your whole way of functioning in the world starts to change, right? And so that's where we start magnetizing in these other things, where we're getting onto our higher timelines. So, and it's interesting because this sort of like fast-paced inward motion is coming out underneath the 10 of Cups, which is that higher timeline. So it's like it's coming in quickly. And so that's what I'm feeling too. It's like, go here, now go here, now go here, now go here, now go here. But make sure you clamp all the stuff that got triggered along the way. It's like this fast track, but it's taking us to here. This is the place where we feel safe. This is where we feel safe in our lives because we've cleaned up all the things within ourselves. And then in response to that, we're seeing clearly where we can clean up the things in our outer world, and where we start to feel safe, and where And why are we feeling safe? Because our outer world is matching our inner world, because we've cleaned up and we're manifesting differently, but also because we're making choices, because we're able to see more clearly. So this is a seeing as well, assessing, being able to see clearly. You're up high, you're above the fray. You're not viewing through the eyes of unprocessed trauma, where you might be full of projection or shadow or blaming or, just avoidance, right? You're seeing up above, you're rising above, not through spiritual bypassing, but through the natural elevation that happens when we go within and we confront ourselves and we do our work. That's how we raise our vibration. We clear out the blocks that are within us. We feel them. We feel them, even if we think we're going to die while we're feeling them, and eventually it does get easier, right? Then, it's like, oh, let me just cry or scream for 30 seconds and then I'll be fine and I'll be able to see clearly, this type of thing. So let's see what comes out underneath that card, the assessing. But again, a big message of feeling safe when your outer world matches your inner world. And that happens naturally as we do this healing, because again, we get to feel like this, right? When we're not resisting. So that goes back to Callie. So let's see what we get underneath assessing here. That came out easily. I love it. Check it out. Repairing the veil, forgiveness. So there it is. There's the tear. This is almost like our DNA, and there's the gene splicing, and there's the hijack, and there's the hybridization, and, all the things that have happened throughout our journeys that we may or may not remember or even know about, but there it is. And there's the repairing. And so that's what I was talking about. This is so validating. I love it when that happens. It's part of why I like to work with cards, one for the grounding aspect, but also because it just confirms, it confirms, and it's fun to play with spirit in that way. And so again, the forgiveness where, it was torn apart and we were torn apart, but now as we repair it, we're able to have that forgiveness for everything that happened, for our perpetrators, for the darkness, for, even the really, really dark in our realm, because it was part of this journey. It was part of the trek through the cycle of the ages, through the descending cycle, and now up through the ascending, playing with the polarities, learning about light and dark, learning about them, they're together and they're just one thing. But when they separate, you get to learn about light, you get to learn about dark, because they've been separated. And so we've all been on both sides, we've all created the tear and we've all protected, we've done it all. And so as we bring it back together, we bring ourselves back together too, and we embrace the darkness within ourselves, and we can have forgiveness for it and forgiveness for it in others as well, as we're all bringing this back in, repairing the tear. Yeah, beautiful. And also this is coming out under assessing, and it's a 9 as well. So there's a 9-9. So there is a message of like, keep going, you're almost there. Like, it's really, really intense right now. This is like, it's just time. It's time. This is happening. It's up. You can't avoid it. Keep your eye out for it. You don't have to keep your eye out for it. It's coming. You can see it. It's coming for you. But that it's very positive. And this is but again, the 9. It's about completion. It's about completion. We're nearing completion. I'm feeling a lot of completion energies. The two big wounds and unfelt things that I got to yesterday were incredibly liberating, which is our next card that I'm going to pull out from under. And it's changed things for me. It's changed. And so I'm still in the process of allowing things to integrate and unpack. But there is a completion type of energy. So let's see what deck I want to do for the last card. I think I'm going to do a tarot. Let's see what we get here underneath Callie and liberation. Okay, the Princess of Wands. In the last reading, it was actually the Prince of Wands, and I read it like the Princess of Wands, which is okay. I always just go with how I read it, because it's, it's the energy, how it comes through for me. But this is actually the Princess of Wands, and it actually is the new adventure. So that's the thing on the other side of this liberation. And this is a 7. 7's always come through for me as that higher timeline, which is also indicated here. As we come through this liberation onto this higher timeline, there's a whole new adventure. And that new adventure is kind of like what I was saying in the beginning, unless that was in the reading that I deleted, where it's like I think that was the other reading, where we're on this new adventure, we're after the veil is repaired, there's a whole new, we're starting to harmonize and come back online with the truth, with the true harmonization and the true energetics of this realm without the overlays and the hijacks that's starting to emerge for more and more of us. The more we do this work, it creates this empty channel. That's where I was saying that activation, this activation energy where there's so much coming online, right? But the way to move forward with that in this realm, we can't look backwards into this energy because this is what we're collapsing and what we're clearing, and that's the false program, and that's what's kept us looped. We have to walk in the moment. We have to stay in the moment and really listen to that guidance. So again, like the woman that I read for today and the great giant leap of faith. And I'm so glad that she came in for that reading, because she was like, I felt like I was just creating this fantasy in my head. But she didn't tell me that until the very end. And the cards were all fantasy. It was all like, you could say it was fantasy, but it was real. It was confirming that like you were accurate. This is very much a higher frequency for you. It's like you found your oasis. You found you found this. You found a frequency that matches you, that's really going to nourish you, but you earned that, because we've been working together for a while and I've watched her earn it, and she's fucking badass. But anyway, so that new adventure and just trusting it, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's really scary, trust it, because your higher self, again, that's something else I was saying in the last reading, is in a lot of the sessions, I'm seeing that the higher selves are really, really, really present and in the field, and they have the reins. It's like, they're like, it's go time, and I'm going to get you put into position. It's like, and I think because a lot of us have done so much clearing, that this type of energy can come through, that surrender, which we also have here. I forgot to say that surrender, where you're surrendering to this, you're surrendering to the guidance, you're surrendering to the triggers, you're surrendering to all of it, knowing that it's for you, that it's actually gentle, even if it feels harsh, and that it's taking you on this new adventure. But it is the new adventure. We're in the adventure right now. Like, you can feel it, right? There's just so much of this, and every day there's more and more coming through. But just trusting, and surrendering. It's how we're going to get through that. Surrendering to your emotions, surrendering to your triggers, surrendering to your guidance, listening to your body. Do what you feel guided to do. Walk away if you need to walk away. Speak up if you need to speak up. Go towards that thing that doesn't make sense if you need to go, if you feel to go towards that thing. Reach out to that person. Follow your guidance, and don't get heady about it. Just trust, because it's all about repairing the veil, and it's all about and again, that reminder of having great forgiveness and gentleness for yourself and others, all others. All of them, even the ones that were so awful that they had to go be recycled off the planet. It's like we're all playing our part, and we all have free will. We all have a right to experience what we are. This is the grand symphony and the grand experiment, and it's all actually together, even though it has been fragmented, right? It's repairing now. It's coming back together. And so the new adventure is one from that frequency, and following the moment, following the guidance, and trusting, even if your devil conditioned mind wants to keep you small and make you go backwards, that bravery message. So, and again, coming out underneath Cali. Did I talk about that yet? Just this is the liberation is onto the new path. So, all right, I'm just in an hour. I didn't go super over what I like to stay at. So thank you for joining. And if you are going through all these triggers, we are making so much progress, and we are liberating. This is how we liberate this realm. So be so proud of yourself, and be so proud of all the people that you're working with that are triggering you, or that you're bouncing ideas around with, or that even if you're on Facebook and if you're observing people that are triggering, whatever it is, it's like we're all in this together. We're all working on this as a soul family, and all the characters, no matter what role they're taking, are in the end allies, and it's just really beautiful. So thank you for communing and listening, and as always, feel free to share if you have resonance or something that you relate to. It's always fun for me to hear. So and no pressure if you don't want to, of course, but and I'll see you next time, and we'll see where we're at. Yeah, it's really, really, really intense right now. Don't forget to ground, and don't forget to feel. All right, much love to you.